Hello everybody, how are you? We're here in the San Gabriel Valley today, just driving around, enjoying the beautiful, sunny, chilly weather. It's great. It's a wonderful time of the year because it's nice and cozy. Christmas is coming. And this video is going to be a community spotlight on Monrovia, which is an important community here in the San Gabriel Valley among so many that we've done videos on. Now, Monrovia, which was incorporated in 1887, of course, has a much longer history than that. Like a lot of the communities here, was part of the Mission era and the Rancho era. So you could see ranchos as far as the eye could see, acres and hundreds of thousands of acres of ranchos. And then, of course, the community was guided and influenced heavily by the mission. And so you had different missions. There was the Mission Impossible. Now, Mission Impossible was a mission that it served Impossible Burgers. Now, Impossible Burgers are plant-based hamburgers. And there was a lot of discussion at that time on whether they were actually meat or not. And again, remember, even though there was a lot of farming in general, it was also a big cattle area. So a lot of the traditional cattle ranchers were sort of up in arms about the Mission Impossible. And we're talking in the mid-1800s. Serving plant-based burgers and calling them burgers. I said, well, you can't call them burgers because it's not a hamburger. And, the priests, the leaders of the mission were like, well, the only thing above us is God. And he hasn't said anything about it. So we're just going to do it. It's healthier. And it gives people that want to have a tasty burger that for health or diet reasons cannot eat meat, or for personal choice, it gives them an option. So that goes way back. That was really in the mid-1800s, right here in Monrovia. Monrovia itself, the name, means more. It's a Greek word meaning more oranges, because these were mostly orange orchards out here, orange groves. And then, of course, as the 1800s came to a close, it started to take on more of a suburban feel. As the land prices went up, well, you would have been crazy not to sell. Now, you could say they're in the San Gabriel Valley, much like a lot of America. There's maybe too many, shopping malls and tract homes and everything. Everything looks very similar now, especially in Southern California. But nonetheless, that's exactly what happened. And now but going back, so before all that, so we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves. Before all that, the first expeditions of explorers that came were in the late 1700s. So, for example, the Portola expedition, that's the first time that the Spanish saw Southern California. They came up from San Diego. Now, they were looking for a new home for the football team. And so they were spying. Now, that's the thing. A lot of Southern California, they claimed for Spain from the boat. They didn't even get out and get on the, you know what I mean? They just looked out on the water, over the water for the boat, and they go, hey, look at that, we'll take that too. Well, that provides for some pretty speedy exploration and claiming of land of an area. You just sail by. But nonetheless, they came north from San Diego and claimed the area. Now, they were looking for a new home for the football team because the people in San Diego, the missions down there, the weather is so nice down in San Diego, and they're right on the water, and it's more temperate than it is up here, where it does tend to get a little colder in the winter. They were so relaxed and so laid back and so enjoying the weather. Basically, they were just laying on the beach all day is what they were doing. That they didn't have time to support the teams. And eventually, the football team look for a home up here, and that's what led to the original expeditions, the original Spanish expeditions coming up into this area. Because really, why would you leave San Diego for any other reason? There wouldn't be. You'd be just loving life, okay? So then, as we mentioned before, the Mission San Gabriel Archangel was established in 1771. And it was the leading mission in this area. Now that came after, that came actually before the Mexican independence in 1822, but it continued, the mission continued past 1822, well past that, okay? Because the thing about the mission is, it was there for so long, even though there was the strife of the Mexican-American War, the mission is where all of the good, that's where everybody went. That was the center of the community. So even after the war, they continued to go there because they had the good nightclub. They had a good dance floor. They had all the alcohol. I mean, of course, they used it for quote-unquote religious purposes. But, on ladies' night, on dance night, they broke it out. And the alcohol flowed. And the mission became more of a hotspot. And so that continued after the war, the Mexican-American War. And so then later on, let's see, the ranchos were cut up more and more, just like all major land tracts. Although, as we've mentioned in other videos, they used to, if somebody came to a leader of the, let's say somebody in the mission or a leading figure in the area and said, listen, I'd like to farm my own land. What could I pitch for? And they'd say, well, look, we'll give you, 5,000 acres and we'll see how you do with that. And really all you had to do was raise some cattle or build a house and just show you're developing the land, and they would give you more. So there's people with 50, 100,000 acres, like regular people, And of course, that didn't last that long because the value of the land kept going up and it got cut up more and more. So the Rancho Azusa de Duarte, that was cut up and sold off. And, look, people have different reasons to sell the land. The one guy had gambling debts. This other guy, he had invested heavily in tech. And then this is the early days of tech, okay? The digital watch era. And digital watches, if you're younger, you have no idea. But this is before calculators. There was these digital watches that a lot of times you could get at the Kmarts of the area. Kmart is kind of like a Target with less coolness, not as cool. And a digital watch, you'd have like 10, 11-year-old, mostly boys, would buy these watches. And it just had the hour and the minutes. That's it. And they'd get them for like, $15. But at the time, it was pretty cool because before that, all they had was the clock faces with the regular dials. If you don't know what I'm talking about, clocks used to have hands, and then these hands pointed to numbers on a round dial. I know that sounds ridiculous, but that's exactly how it went down. And of course, when the digital watches came out, they were a big deal. So Monrovia today is you still have a strong local community. And they've developed, in fact, their own handshake. And this is important if you move to the area and you want to be seen as a local, you want to fit into the local community. Now, they're friendly as heck. They don't care if you want to be Joe Monrovia and be part of everything. But if you do, you have to really know the local handshake because it's what all the cool people do. So the way you do it, so again, Monrovia, they've focused on that middle part, row. And so the way it works is you walk up to somebody and reach out as if you were going to shake their hand in a normal fashion. Then you pull your right hand back in a rowing motion, right? And as you do that, now just your right hand, not both hands. As you do that, you turn in a circle as if you're rowing a boat with just the right oar, which would then turn you clockwise, right? So you do that 3 times. You spin in place while you're doing the rowing motion, just with your right hand and right arm, 3 times, and then you turn and face the person again. Now, they may just stand there with a confused look on their face, but that's part of the code, so that they can determine if somebody knows that part, the rowing part, then they're on the inside. Then they will do it to you, and at the end, you both you click knuckles or tap knuckles, and you say Monrovia, and then you're on the inside. Okay, you're a cool cat, you're a local, and you'll be able to move up in the ranks of local politics, and you'll get better seats at the restaurants, and it's all of those advantages. So that is just a very quick look, guys, at Monrovia. It's such an exciting community and such an important part of the San Gabriel Valley. There's so many things to talk about that we weren't able to get to. Some of the movies that were influenced by the Monrovia lifestyle. Return to Monrovia, for example, was a big movie. We'll get into that. We'll get into a lot of the pop culture that was centered on the town, the music, the jazz, the pop, the hip hop. So many things to talk about. The important characters that helped build the area. But we're just trying to give you a quick snapshot of how it all kind of came down. And come on, excuse me, come on back for more videos. And we're gonna cover everything. We're gonna have a lot of fun. Talk to you then.